I'm India Brown,
And I'm Sydney Wilson.
and we are two Southern gals making it in the big city world where we both work on a Broadway show.
And this is our podcast, Social Cues, a show where we put away our show scripts and stage blocking
And have real conversations about how it feels being professional performers in a lucrative industry.
one topic at a time.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Social Cues. I'm India.
And I'm Sydney.
So we're going to just skip pleasantries today and dive right into our topic. It's kind of a heavy one, but it's very real and something that needs to be discussed. So today's topic is colorism.
Yeah, this is one that I think we put off for a couple weeks because I really wanted to make sure that we're addressing it and going into it correctly. And I think it's powerful, to
Absolutely
be able to open up the conversation, which we can get into more later. But just
because in the industry, we don't really talk about it a lot.
Yeah.
And it is something that affects us all. Well, at least people of color.
Yeah.
We've kind of normalized something that actually needs to be disputed, challenged, discussed, understood. So let's dive in, girl. Let's start with the history of it all.
Okay.
So what is colorism?
So colorism is, I was reading an article in Time magazine about the difference between colorism and racism, because I think that sometimes in other communities gets mixed up. So at the time that article was written, it wasn't defined, but now it is. So in Merriam-Webster, it is prejudice or discrimination, especially within a racial or ethnic group, favoring people with lighter skin over those with darker skin. Mm-hmm. And in the article I was reading, it was just talking about how because overall, the quickest way to identify somebody or to make a decision about how you feel about somebody, prejudiced or otherwise, is by how they look. And skin color is one of the first things that come to mind.
Right.
And that's the most, she quotes, this is Lori L. Tharps, I think. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Just that skin color is the most obvious criteria that in which a person can be evaluated or judged. Yeah.
Covers your entire body, so right. Can't miss it.
And it's the first thing most of the time that people see or notice.
Right.
And so, many people probably already know, but we'll say just for the history wise, I think it began more so. I think it spans, from what I've researched, it spans over different all different cultures. It's not just within the Black community, it's within East Asian and Indian cultures, and all that. There, any race that has a wide span of colors, there is a potential, or normally is, colorism within those cultures. And so
I'm immediately thinking about the Spanish community with Puerto Ricans versus Dominicans. Dominicans are a browner skin complexion than Puerto Ricans, so they're considered lesser than.
Right.
So
but still, those even darker Afro-Latino, when you get into defining Afro-Latina, of wanting to identify with the Latina or Latino side more so than the African, and anything to not be Black, basically.
Yeah.
And so but in our community, in the African American community specifically, it's more based in slavery and sexual assault against slaves from a white slave master that produces a mixed race child, which then is the most obvious differentiation between them is that one was in the house and one was out in the fields. So then you become split house in those ways,
outdoor slave,
and who does more strenuous work and who's easier on the eyes, or who's closer in proximity to whiteness, which is the lighter skinned. And so that's pretty much the history. And I think there's much more that we could dive into, or you can dive into on your own, but that's a brief thing we just kind of wanted to cover and talk about.
So to kind of interlace that with the industry that we work in, the entertainment industry, similar things kind of happen as far as what's deemed as more attractive. I guess I can speak only from a personal experience. Historically speaking too, start in the beginning of time with our industry in entertainment, the lighter skinned person of color is more appealing, so they are put in the forefront. But even across, I think you were mentioning about the movies and
in pop culture we see a lot. So examples that probably we all know or heard of, you think immediately of shows like Martin, where
Yeah.
you know,
Gina.
Gina's character is like the lighter skin, and that's the love interest, and that's the one that he loves, and then he's always
And
coming
even
for
her
Pam.
demeanor is a little bit more reserved,
right?
And like low key calm versus
and then
Pam,
her best friend, who's dark skinned, and is like
she comes with
he
the
talking,
attitude.
and he's like ripping her. Like,
oh yeah, hates
calling her a dog, and all this stuff, and why don't you get back out to the kennel?
So there was like lack of respect towards Pam,
right?
Versus
not
his
even
love interest.
not even just like not being attracted to her, but actively like being demeaning. And then something that I didn't even know existed, which is this Nina Simone movie with Zoe Saldana.
Yes, girl,
in 2016.
That was a huge controversy.
That's like what?
Yeah, because they even had to like paint her in blackface. Basically, they had to darken her skin,
which is like skin enhance. Like they're enhancing her skin to. Why wouldn't you just cast it?
I mean,
and then Nina Simone's daughter is financing it, and is like then lawsuits against other like I don't know if it was production company or whatever, because she's like, this is not what we discussed.
I really didn't understand that choice. I mean, I get like Zoe Saldana is an amazing actor, like definitely not taking anything away from her. But when you think of Nina Simone, like I could think of 5 other actresses,
and I don't know that
who would have really killed me.
Yeah, it's just like
right, like there was just nothing that drew me to Zoe Saldana when you say Nina Simone,
right? Especially because like in general, like her characters are more reserved. They're more, ingenue. Nina Simone is like revolutionary. She's saying something with her music. She is like going
but actually to contradict that just a little bit, I mean, Zoe Saldana does play in a lot of action films, and she has had a couple of roles where she is very like, powerful and strong-willed. So I guess I can understand that to a degree, but she ain't that girl who's well known in Hollywood as the strong-willed
revolutionary.
like aha, I know who can play Nina Simone.
Right. So it's kind of like very interesting that some of these things have happened, and that's even beyond, because it's like the opportunity is given to somebody that is lighter skinned, but then you're making her skin darker. But why? Like
you could just get someone with a brown skin.
Like, what is it? Like, you're not even seeing her lighter skin tone in that case. So what is it about?
That's what I'm saying. Like, it was so deeply confusing.
Ingrained. That's like, why wouldn't you just get some? Like, is it really that deep?
Because it just seemed like there was so much more work that had to be done to make her a dark skin complexion. When there are dark skin actors out there who could have just done it just fine.
Yeah. And this is kind of a different situation. I don't know if I want to like dive into it too much, but recently the national tour of Funny Girl was announced, and that is a traditionally Jewish, or that is a Jewish character written in, and they've cast a Cuban American woman, which is really interesting, and that's causing a lot of controversy and a lot of people talking. And then you get into like, well, which we'll discuss too, like, will do different levels of discrimination equate, which I don't know that they always do. They're like, well, if she is Cuban American maybe, and she's experienced, this and that, then does that kind of allow her to take on a role that also has experienced discrimination, but in a different way?
Right,
so
right.
That's colorism necessarily, but I think it's an interesting thing that still we're having lines blurred where like people who aren't a part of a certain community are being cast and taking on roles. And
I think that's kind of bleeding into like the equity and inclusion conversation. Like, I think people are really trying to go out of their way to diversify their casting, and that might be going in that direction. But you're right. For me, it does become a question of authenticity, because it's like, I mean, I understand, like, definitely you want to diversify where you can. But if it's a main character and they are known to be of a certain race, then why not just keep that authentic to the character so that it can be, well received and well delivered. But that is a different conversation for another day, child.
Yeah, it's crazy. But I think, and then we think about it in theater too. And I think, I don't know, I think that certain things, it's hard because it's some gray area, right? So I feel like a show maybe like In the Heights, like a Latino show with like Afro Latina Caribbean, to diversify the ensemble of that show. If you cast a Black girl, I know some people may be offended by that, but also if we're striving to show, like we said, that there are there's a wide variety of skin tones in that. It's not just like the light skin with curly hair or light skin with thick black straight hair,
which that's fine.
Who is Puerto Rican, right? But
and it's as close to authentic as possible,
right?
So
I think it's interesting.
It is interesting,
but
I also think about just kind of to go back to the entertainment pop culture. I think about School Days, Spike Lee's movie School Days. There's this one scene, and y'all know what I'm talking about. The scene, Good or Bad Hair, versus it's the black girls, the brown skin, dark skin black girls versus the light skin, light skinned black girls.
Right.
I don't know why I'm stuttering over. It makes me uncomfortable just talking about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just so raw. Like, ooh, child, they came after each other. I mean, you're talking jigaboos and
it was.
You think I'm better than you, and just all So we definitely have an issue within our own community. With colorism, like. We've been so badly brainwashed to the point where we deem beauty as lighter skin, more manageable long hair. And it's deeply rooted.
It is.
Yeah. And it shows up. It definitely shows up all over pop culture. Definitely, even when you think about like rap, like back in the day, the rap videos, or even R&B, like all music videos, the girl in the forefront was lighter skin, or they used to wear the weaves all the time back in the day. So it was the straight long weaves. So yeah.
And you also think about how damaging that can be in the community as a whole, but specifically to women. Like, we're women, and you think about that, and then you automatically think about love and romantic relationships, and then what that does to somebody's self-esteem.
Right.
When the person's femininity is more validated the lighter they are, and so they're always a love interest, and then it's like, you are seen as, the stereotypes of like any man, black, like light skin or dark, is always going for the lighter skin girl, no matter what. And it's like, and then other people, like, people will say like black women are seen as aggressive, but more often than not, they're referring to darker skinned black women that are aggressive and that are, got an attitude and all that. I need to find, and it's like,
can you blame them?
Right, but you can't generalize in that way. But all these examples through pop culture and all of this stuff just continue to affirm that.
Yeah.
And so what else would you think? If nobody's there to teach you, then you're going to go off of what's represented. And that's what's represented.
Or definitely off your emotions of it all and not think it through. So 100% for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, and then we think about going into our industry, theater, and whether people acknowledge it or not, it's similar like movies. Every black show that people are in, we don't want it to be we don't want the opportunities for black people just to be slavery, and we don't, we're hoping to get away from some of that, but also in more I guess modern shows you see it show up too. Like I had an experience with a friend where they had gone in for a show that was known for more so casting lighter skinned people. They didn't have, I think they maybe had like one or two. And that's something that you hear about or know a lot. Like, there are certain types. And once you have a certain diversity or types set, they continue to audition and fill those slots. They try to replicate that. Yeah, looking like same type of person. Yeah. Body shape, skin color, all that type of stuff.
Right. They're so close-minded when it comes to that. No vision at all.
Right. So it was a situation in which I think that there were multiple factors that could have gone into it. But as the lighter skinned friend talking to somebody who was darker skinned, I think that I mentioned something about how I think that it might have been not getting a callback, or something might not have been just based on the skin color, because I had another friend who was similar stature and skin tone and build that did get a callback. And the person who I was speaking to really, really was hurt by that and offended. And I think that it was definitely a learning experience, because I don't want to say that, lighter skinned people never have a say in the conversation, or never, don't have the right to speak on it. But I do think that there's time and place. And I think that it's important to acknowledge and really know when to say what, because in my opinion, I was just kind of offering like perspective on the broader scale of auditioning.
It wasn't like the forefront to consider,
but it was such a direct like experience for her that it felt like a direct attack on that person, I think, or me being blind or so tone deaf to the fact that this is what has defined, that person's career. This is something that has defined, and it's something that's always in the back of their mind. So for me to even bring that up as me thinking that it was
So how did that show up in the conversation? Like you almost devaluing her experience?
I think just we were talking about it and it was like, but I think that they said something along the lines of like, I think, well, that show is just normally known for casting like lighter skin, or such and such role is like light skin, so I think that's why. And I was like, well, I don't know if that's 100% the case. I know that they are, and I've heard the same, but also I know that another person who I know was called back for that role, or they did get, to go back into the room, so it might have been other things too, you never really know.
Okay.
And it was kind of like, I feel like that sounded very tone deaf. Not that I didn't acknowledge it, but that I didn't realize like how important that was, or how much that was, how much I guess that could outweigh other factors, or it seems that way. So I think even though it might not have been the only thing, it was probably a major thing. And so speaking on that to her, I think was not the best thing to do in that moment, and that's something I had to learn. And I think like if conversations are, if you open yourself up to conversation and you want to discuss it, then that's fine. But I think especially with auditioning and knowing how the industry is, it can be a touchy subject. It can be something hard to be like, yeah, let's just open up a conversation about how I just didn't get called back, and I think it was because of this. And so so
I think there is there's 100% insecurity that lies at, for our listeners who are just listening and are not watching, I, India, am of a darker skin brown tone, and Sidney is of a lighter skin brown tone. So for me to that point, for my experience, I have experienced that throughout the entire course of my career, even dating back to like high school. And I say that to say it is kind of hard to kind of bring up in a conversation, because it's a stain and it comes off as an insecurity of ours. So, we're not screaming into the high waters, but we have normalized the reality that I might not get the leading role because I'm brown skin. I'm probably going to get the second role, the secondary role. Or, if you do get cut, you don't consider, well, maybe I just didn't sing well that day, or maybe I just didn't dance well that day. You look at who they did pick. And if in any instance, it's like all lighter skin to white people, you immediately go to the place of, oh, great. Okay, so they're only going for European fair-skinned people, not black people. But, nobody wants to just scream that to the high water. So I think it does put us in a really, really insecure place. Like, because let's be honest, no one wants to talk about their insecurities in a conversation. Yeah. But it is important. Yeah. There's no way we all can get on the same path towards understanding if we don't discuss some of these things. And even like you say, like, how are you going to understand or learn from something if we never talk about it? Right. Which I think is a big part of our job as a lighter skinned people in the community, is like, it's like racism in a way. Like, I don't like to do like a bunch of comparing and stuff like that, but like, it's like a white person like being a little bit, nervous to talk about race. Like, well, that you feel like you just like, oh, okay, so you must be racist because you feel so uncomfortable about You're so scared.
Like, right. But like for us to be like, I acknowledge it. I see what's going on, and like it isn't fair. And even we talked about, discussing our experiences with it. And I don't know that I've had any direct experiences with it, but I'm sure I've benefited indirectly. Yeah. I'm almost 100% sure, because there's no way to know, but it's so ingrained in society that you don't even know if it's happened or not, but it probably has. And kudos to you, because I think that's one of the things that gets me really sensitive in discussing this with people who are lighter skinned. It's okay to not, understand my plight or see my experience directly or very clearly. But when you get in a conversation about this, it becomes offensive to me. I will speak personally. It becomes offensive to me when you act like it doesn't exist. And when you act like you don't benefit from, this particular issue. Right. Like we all have the same playing field. Right. Like true. If someone comes to me and say, you're lighter skin and I'm a darker skin, and you say, oh, we all had the same opportunity. Sorry, maybe you this, that, and the third. That's offensive to me. Right. Because I can see very clearly, like, the playing field is not equal. Well, yeah, that's like color blindness. Yes. And I remember growing up, this is another thing that I had almost forgotten about. It was just ignorance from being young and in predominantly white areas. But I think I'm a very much like lead with love, like kind of love everybody type of thing. And I was watching this movie with my mom called Save the Last Dance.
Oh my
and
God.
I was like, well, I just think, they love who they love. My mom was like, Black people need to try to stay with Black folks, which is like another conversation. But I was like, well, I don't really like see color. Like I think they just love. And she was like, no,
you need to see color.
And she was like, okay, this is a deeper, but that was just something that
real.
you just grow up and you love love, and I had diverse friends. So I was kind of like, well, we all are just, but I wasn't thinking about, I hadn't experienced, I was young, I hadn't experienced like life to where, and being lighter skinned, like I'm indirectly benefiting, like I said. So it was kind of like something that I was like, well, I don't really see that, like I have white friends, I got Black friends, I got Latino
the
friends,
acceptance
like
is there.
So it's like, well, we're all just, and it's like, well, you have to really start looking at the world the way it is, and like that took exposure and more stuff. And when she started to teach me, I was like, okay, cool. And that's something that I'm glad to have been taught. And I think too, it's nice to be excited for and passionate about, but I do kind of shy away from being more like, how sometimes like people can be a little over, like especially those who are not a part of that. It's like they be more angry than the people who are, and it's like, what's the point of that? Like what is driving you? Are you that passionate about making it equitable, or are you just trying to have like almost overcompensate or have something
right I mean, I hate to even question that, but I do have a lot of friends who are biracial, and I mean, okay, the fight is all of ours, of course, because we all are Black and we all just want to get to a place of, equitable inclusion and, acceptance and compassion and kindness. But too often than not, there have been many instances where my biracial friends will be like over the moon passionate about colorism, as though they were affected by it negatively. And I'm looking at them like, but I'm not even that mad.
But like, you hope,
but there's something kind of sick in that too, because I'm not that mad. Why? Because I have normalized the reality that I'm never going to be the lead. I'm never going to be, the forefront girl. I'm always going to be, considered in the last whatever because of the color of my skin. And you just adopt it as that's just the way the world is. Yeah. So,
I think we hope that the people who are advocating in that way are using it's like, using a platform because they are seen as, even though it's not true, but seen as, more palatable, more digestible, or whatever. Yeah. So that they're using the platform to really get these people in the rooms they need to be and really vouch for these people.
It's really tricky because on the one hand, yes, thank you so much for fighting the good fight, because you can, like, you are more palatable and digestible. But then on the other hand, like what you kind of just introduced, what's the real purpose here? Like, what is the drive behind your passion? Like, like, is it because you want to be accepted from, all parts of your race? Or is it because you know what it feels like to be at a divide or conflicted with your identity, so you just want to fight for everybody's rights? You know what I mean? Like, you question how genuine the person is behind it, which, I mean, that's really dicey and not nice, but it's real. It's a real thought. Like, dang, why are you so mad? Like, it never affected you.
So I feel like the biggest point to take away is that there's so many different experiences all wrapped up into the entire conversation, and I don't know that you can give everybody the benefit of the doubt, but I think the best way is like be open and communicative. Like that's really the only thing. And the more you talk to somebody, the more I think they'll reveal their true colors. Like,
when you were sharing the story about your friend, I immediately wanted to commend her, because that took a lot of vulnerability, and that's a true friend, to tell you in that moment, like, you hurt my feelings, or like, I'm not getting the support from you that I thought I should be getting in this area, like, because you're just completely schlepping over, this issue, and I want you to understand it's very real. I mean, she didn't say that, but that's what I got from that. So kudos to your friend for being vulnerable enough to share with you, like, no, this is real and this really is hurtful. So you have to pay attention to it because it happens.
Yeah.
And it might not be your experience, but it's mine. So let's talk about it. And,
Yeah.
we all can learn from that. And that invites you in on the conversation. And you already had your eyes open to it, but it expands people's scope.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing, I think. It wasn't, like, don't get me wrong, it wasn't like this is something that was just like my eyes were open to. Like, even before she talked about that or before that happened, I knew, like, I had known about that show and had heard and things like that. So I was still vouching and rooting for her all the way.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that I completely overlooked it. I just, I think bringing in other factors in the auditioning purpose, it seemed her more, and it seemed like I did just kind of overlook, like, well, that might be a small part of it, but no, like, it wasn't. So I definitely didn't like completely like overlook her or mean to do that, but intentions sometimes don't really matter, because if you hurt somebody and you bring something up or something stirred up and they're already in a place where they feel like they're being minimized or overlooked or unheard or silenced,
and unheard,
then it's like that really hits home. So it teaches me to be more cautious, but also to be grateful for people who who open up the conversation to be like, let's really talk about this, because until then we hadn't really unpacked that,
right? And
so it was good, and I did definitely learn.
That's a beautiful moment, and that actually it begs the question of because let's be honest, Black people, and I mean people of darker skin, it's an issue, and it is a deep plight of ours. Sometimes I get the notion that dark-skinned people feel like, and y'all don't slay me for this, but this is just my opinion, but I feel like dark-skinned people feel like light-skinned people don't have any skin in the conversation. Like, just be quiet. You are reaping the benefits. Like, you can't speak on this at all. But we never actually take the time to look on the flip side of the coin. The idea of there's a stereotype that follows light-skinned Black people too, that y'all are uppity and bougie and you think you're better than, and you're dang near white and all this stuff. And it's like, that is hurtful too. Yeah. Like, what is your take on that? Like, have you experienced that? Or?
Yeah, I have. I think growing up, also being like the way that I am, just like more reserved and quiet and like very observant, like, like I remember, dang, this is really bringing some stuff up for me. Girl. I remember like being on the bus and like to elementary and then being like, that ain't your real hair. Like, and I'm like, I'm like 7 years old. Like, my mom ain't even know weaving my hair. Like, but I'm just like,
who doing that?
And then like just in church communities, just not like, really being, and like not to equate it at all, because we've talked about this, but like it's not nearly, to have somebody think that you're stuck up or to like isolate you is different than literally being like negated, overlooked, and like pushed down. So that not equating it, but there is something to be said about it, because I know, like, joining praise dance or, wanting to be a part of different communities and stuff, and just entering like a predominantly Black space, and then people assuming that I think I'm stuck up, or I think I'm better than, or assuming that I'm mixed. So there's also that for like people to look at me and be like, oh, like, well, I just like, I'll talk to people and be friends with people for like weeks or months.
And they're like, oh, you're actually pretty cool.
And I'm like, yeah, like, and be like, wait, you aren't mixed? And I'm like, no, both my parents are Black. My grandparents are Black. Like, we just light. I don't know how far it dates back. I mean, somebody was probably white in there.
Yeah.
But like, and then they see my mom and she has green eyes and like blonde hair, and it's like really interesting. But yeah, I know that. And that's something she always would make me aware of too, is like, when you go in these spaces and stuff, like, you have to begin to, like I keep saying, like, be open and really have the conversations and not be afraid of it, because people are going to assume that you think you're better and like this good and bad hair type of thing. Like, you're, you got curly hair and you're light and you're beautiful. And so people are just going to assume that you think you're better than them for a multitude of reasons. But yeah, I've definitely gone in spaces, like, less so as I've gotten older, because it's not something I ignore, but I just don't like let it affect me. And I'm very upfront with who I am, and I know who I am, and I know who I want to be to other people, and what I bring in. So I don't leave being like, I might be a little like reserved, but once we open up and start to talk, I know that goes before me, and more than that, the Lord goes before me. Amen. And He shows people what they need to see and what they don't need to see. And who I am speaks louder than what I look like from the outside, or what you think I think about myself because of the way I look. But yeah, definitely, like, being a part of like Black, like being in church and stuff and wanting to do certain things or be, and like feeling like they just kind of like yeah. And I'm like, well, what happened? Like, I'm just trying to be a part of the group.
Yeah,
and it's like,
yeah.
so she kept that in my mind. But yeah, that's definitely something. And I just, and that'll be something kind of in the back of my mind too. Like when I do make friends with other Black women and stuff like that, and I'm excited, and if they seem a little withheld, that's something that crosses my mind too.
Yeah,
like, do they think that I think a certain way about myself, or that I look down on them or something? And so, but I feel like that's just more on me to be like, have the conversations and be like, look, that's not what it is at all. Like, I value you, I cherish y'all, like I want to uplift y'all, I want us all to be together. And even like last week I talked about this small group that I was starting, and I started it, and it was really great.
Right.
But that is predominantly Black and brown skinned women, and so I want to, it is all Black women, but like all darker than me. And I want to open up that conversation too, and make sure
how that goes.
Because I think it's important, and they're all in the industry too, so that's like another layer to like really unpack and talk about that.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm realizing more and more, in this conversation, I haven't quite shared my experience with this in great detail. I think I've actually locked it away somewhere, and I have almost become forgetful of it. And like I say before, like I've just normalized so much. It's such a sick thing that I'm thinking about right now to say what I'm about to say. I've normalized it to the point where I can't even recognize when I'm being ill-treated based off the color of my skin. First, several times I've been complimented. Oh, you're really pretty for a dark-skinned girl. Or, I even think about, with me being a dancer, I vividly remember when I started dancing when I was 3. So I vividly remember when I was like, I want to say 5th grade, going to 6th grade, in a ballet class. We're about to do a recital. All the girls had their beautiful tutus and their pink tights and the shoes to match. Well, they didn't have my complexion and the color, skin tone, tights and my complexion at that time. So, I either had to get sheer white, which made me look incredibly ashy, or we had to go the extra mile of dipping my tights in tea and dyeing it. And they had to rub the makeup all over it to the point where it would stain my costumes. So I just vividly remember feeling ugly and feeling messy because, either the dye would rub off on something and my costume would be looking ugly, or I just didn't look well put together, like a cohesive skin tones all the way down to my toes look. And I just remember feeling just ugly, like, I don't look like the other girls. I don't want to go out there. Why do we have to go all these extra steps just to be like the other girls? And usually at that time, it was just me. I was the only Black person with a bunch of white girls. So nobody understood the issue. Nobody knew how to help me. And, with my mom, she was new to this particular field too. Like, she's not a performer. She's not a dancer. So she didn't quite know, accurately what to do. We just experimented with some stuff. But yeah, and even like going into, the audition rooms, like the typecasting, I just remember one particular, one audition, they separated us across, like it was a small corridor, but they put light skinned to white people on one side and the dark skinned people on another side. What? And they said to the dark skinned side, thank you for your time. Like we didn't even get in the room.
Wow.
And that just was just so, so demeaning, so discouraging. But it's like, dang, like, okay, I didn't. You're right. Like they were so blatant about it,
and then
right,
go ahead and head out.
Right, that's and then awful. There was another instance. I mean, I can go on and on, but this would be maybe the last example. But there was another instance where I performed with someone who's pretty popular, famous even. But I won't go into who they are, describe them or their name. But I remember I was dancing with this particular performer, and I was deliberately actually put in the forefront right next to this performer. And at this point, I'm thinking, oh, yes, I finally get my chance. I'm in the front. Like, I get to get some visibility. Well, come to find out, the reason why this performer actually wanted me in the forefront right next to her is because she actually had her insecurities, or they call it she was particular about the people who were next to her not looking like her or taking attention away from her. So they wanted someone. She was a lighter skinned person, and she wanted someone who looked completely different from her to not distract away from her. Wow. Basically, putting me in a place where I felt ugly again. Put the ugly girl next to me because they're not going to pay her no attention. They're going to keep their eyes on me. Wow. And so, you take a moment where you're thinking that, okay, yeah, I'm finally getting there. And it just knocks you right back down when the reality sets that, your type of look is not beautiful. So can you imagine the amount of buildup and self-confidence and encouragement you have to give yourself just to get up every day and just keep trying? Because you get to a place where it's like, what am I even doing this for? Like, I'm never going to actually get to the top part of my dream of being that it because of all of these obstacles that people are putting in my way for no apparent reason. It has nothing to do with my talent or my capabilities at all. So it's tough, girl. It's very real. But I commend your mom. I commend your friend for, just having the conversation and just making it a part of just everyday, things, like just to open your eyes to, right, keep it in the forefront, because it's a harsh reality, but it's real.
And I think I feel like you can really become easily very complicit in it because it's such like an undertow that when you start benefiting from it and you don't even think about it, because you don't have to think about it.
You don't have to. What
privileges, for? Right. And it's like, oh, well, I'm getting in the rooms and I'm, received well and I'm not getting looked at. So it's like, you start like the same way similarly, like I think so many people just start to internalize it because it's such a thing. And even if you speak up about it, like we were talking about the pop culture stuff, you speak up about it after it's happened. Like now we know that film happened almost 10 years ago or whatever, or 8 years ago, and it was outrage then, but how many instances have we seen like since then of people getting roles, or lighter skinned people and stuff like that, where it's like this stuff is still happening, but the outrage doesn't really happen until we see it, which is already too late because they've gone through and things have been set in motion. And so it's just continuously been the cycle. So I guess my encouragement would be anybody who's in casting or, just really push for this stuff, have these conversations, like, and really be pushing to break these cycles. Cause if not, we gonna be too little too late.
Like, 100%. Like, just keep having the conversations, even amongst yourselves with your friends and your family, and, get yourself in tune with the reality of it all. And even for myself as a dark-skinned person, I mean, I definitely love the direction that we're going in society of total, okay, let me slow down, maybe not total, but we're stepping in the right direction towards diversity and inclusion. Heavy emphasis on inclusion. To the point maybe even where it becomes a little offensive because you start trying to put black people in the Jewish role. Okay, now you're doing too much. But whatever. I'd rather pour it on thick.
And have to pull back.
But let's, as a dark-skinned person, just understand that you are beautiful, you are worthy, you are capable, and you will land that role. It's not you. You are beautiful just as you are, just as you were born. It was the world that you were born into that needs to catch up to you and your greatness. And I even love where Black beauty is going, like the embracing of natural hair. Because there was a time too where, girl, nappy heads was not the wave, as we used to say. Like we would, I remember vividly, I would either go swimming or it would be summertime, or it would be, I have some new growth where it's about time for me to get a relaxer again. And I would be freaking out. Like, I don't want to show my hair. I don't want to show these kinky roots. So to know and to see us now, like we are just embracing the hair straight out of our head. It's wonderful. So we are making strides. We are not there yet. But we have to keep the conversation going within our community because we have our own things that we need to fix within too before we can get anyone else on the same page with us.
And I think about too, this affirmative action decision and like things happening within, like it was already hard enough to, I think, understand or battle with like an imposter syndrome of, am I in this institution? Am I in this show? Am I in this program, whatever, just because of them trying to fill a certain quota?
Yeah.
Or am I really worth this opportunity? And then to have even that stripped away, like we're looking at politically, we're looking at through education, like all this stuff. So having these conversations, I think, is more important than ever, because even in looking in entertainment, though that looks more inclusive and we're, striving for better and more different cultures are being included, like everything, we're kind of still regressing in a way.
Yeah.
So I think
it makes me think about the recent movie, The Little Mermaid, where people were up in arms that The Little Mermaid was played by a Black woman, but it's a mermaid. Like who said it's imagination.
Right.
So I agree 100%. Yeah. Well, if you guys have anything to add, had any questions concerning, want to delve a little bit deeper in the conversation, we invite you to write below, or send us a quick email at socialq2023@gmail.com. We can further the conversation for sure, because yes, we want to encourage discussion about it. Because there's no way that we can heal and get past if we don't put it on the table and examine it. So, Woo, honey, let's lighten the load.
All right.
Game time? Yes. All right, so I didn't cry. You didn't cry. All right. We're all right. Close, me too. Ooh, I was a little sensitive for a second. I had to unlock some stuff.
But very needed.
Very necessary.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for your open-mindedness. Thank you for your knowledge. This is a good conversation.
Yeah. Please let us know. Okay, let's play some games.
Game time. Woo! Okay, so we're switching it up this week.
Okay, yes.
So before, what we would do is pick a genre out of the bowl, and we will hum a song, and one of us would have to guess what's the song, by who, what year. Right. I mean, but the year, that was a stretch.
Yeah.
The likelihood of knowing that was slim.
Yeah.
So this week, what we're going to do is we're going to start singing a song, and the other person has to guess the remaining lyrics of the song. Right?
Yeah. Okay. But are we doing genres? No,
I don't think. I mean,
any song.
Right today, just any song, just to get started.
Just to warm up. Okay.
Maybe because I couldn't think of anything like on the spot to like be that thorough to think of the lyrics.
Yeah, no.
So today we're just gonna do a random song.
Okay.
And one of us has to guess.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
You want to go first?
No, I don't want to go first because I wasn't thinking. I thought we were gonna pick genres.
No.
Okay. Just a random song.
Okay.
I have one actually. I could start.
You do? Okay. Go.
Yeah. It's a gospel song. Okay.
Oh Lord. Okay.
Soon as I stop worrying how the story ends.
I know this song, but I do not know the
India!
words. Da 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 da. Da, da, da. I don't know the title.
I let go and I let God.
I let go and I let God. I'm such a heathen.
Let God have his way.
I can hear the fella singing it too.
I know.
Ooh.
Seem to fall asleep. The intro, so much on my mind. Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, he was.
All right, so I'm trash at this first little game.
That's okay though. That's okay.
Listen, y'all knew it, right?
That was a popular. Yeah, I'm like. Yeah, maybe
as
Kirk
soon as you start,
I
said, I know this song, but I never knew the words. Okay, I had to write mine down. Let me see.
Okay.
Okay. Now you've been maxing out my cars. Gave me bad credit, buy me gifts with my own hands.
You need to go to like the popular part. Like go to the chorus. I don't know the
words. Paid up. You don't know the. Okay.
Can you pay my bills? Can you pay my telephone bill? Can you pay the rent of our bill? I know the chorus. I don't know. They were speaking. Destiny's Child was doing the fast.
They were fast. That is true.
Like I don't know the verses. I can do the choruses, but at least I knew the song.
All right, I will give you credit. They were like the Thugs Bone.
Yeah, I'm like, what are y'all saying in the verses? I can catch the chorus.
I can remember when I was in middle school. I used to like read, because you remember when you get the CDs that had like the lyrics
Inside,
on the inside. I had to read the lyrics on the inside because they used to sing so fast.
I'm looking, or I would like look like Destiny's Child specifically. Like I would look up. I mean, at this point, I like had a phone, so I was like looking them up, but I was like writing them because I wanted to memorize the song.
Yes,
so bad. Like I would look at the lyrics and listen while I was listening to it, write out the lyrics like, in my journal so that I could get like what was that one? Emotions, I think. I love that song.
Yes. Kids these days do not know hard work because the way, even we in my generation, we used to record the song off the radio and then we do go through that whole bit of, okay, let me write down the lyrics. Okay, what was it again? You play it back. What was it again?
Or even like seconds. Which I did, which you probably did, which is like before like I got an iPhone, like regular little like flip phone or whatever, like recording in the car specifically because I didn't have like a radio, like your thing for your ringtone or whatever.
Yes.
So, like the part of you're like, be quiet, like because it's on the radio, so you can't go back.
Be like, hey, this is Sidney.
And then you're like,
I'm not in right now.
And then you like go slowly back to the speaker. Like I remember looking at my dad's car like on the doors trying to find where the speaker was at so I could like slowly
that
like,
is so real. It's so real.
It was because we didn't have no money to buy no ringtones. Like that was when like a
these
ringtone
younger generations don't know what struggling is.
Like $1.29. Like I have no money. I have to record.
Right. And speaking of Bills by Destiny's Child, that was actually the writing on the wall was the name of the CD that the song was from. Mm-hmm. I remember I got that as a gift, a Valentine's Day gift from a boyfriend at the time.
Oh.
Girl, my mama was not having that. I was in middle school.
What?
She made me. She was like, "Where'd you get this? Who'd you get this from?" And I told her. She drove me over to that brother's house, knocked on his door, and said, "Oh, we won't be accepting gifts from little boys." I said, "Oh." So there's like a visceral response. Like I can go to the exact moment when I hear that song.
What?
Is there a song you don't have a song like that and it just takes you to a place?
Oh yeah, I do. I just don't have any experiences where I was forced to give a gift. Like, well, I had my first serious boyfriend when I was in high school, so that was more like I was like a sophomore. So that was like, you bring me little gifts. Tropical smoothie. Like, come on, some Chick-fil-A. But I was never forced to give anything back. Like
because I wasn't supposed to have no boyfriend, so
right.
I played myself.
Middle school. Yeah, you were really that it girl because I didn't have nothing. Middle school were the worst years. They were the worst years. So it was not cute. It was not fun. It was just. I had some fun moments, but it was middle school is rough for people. Yeah, I'm like,
girl,
that's a trip. Oh my gosh, a trip. Like we were talking about this too. Like sayings, like that's a trip. Like, do you know about that? Because like that's one thing that like we always say, and I actually just saw it in a script which I was reading aside, and I was like, that's so funny.
What, a trip?
Yeah, like that.
That is such a trip.
Or like that's a trip and a half.
Like, you a trip, honey. Yeah.
It's a trip. That is like something so black and country.
It is so black and country for sure.
Oh my God.
So I don't know if for people who are listening or who are watching, a trip, I guess if we can loosely define it, it's like you're funny or that's funny or it's like a funny thing.
Yeah, or like crazy. Like
that's
just,
crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
outrageous. Yeah. Right. So girl, you a trip.
Right.
You are a trip and a half.
Yeah. So funny.
Yeah, we definitely. So the next episode, we should definitely like pull out all of like the little Southern phrases that some people might not know, but I'm sure coming from the South.
Some stuff I'll be saying to people, I'm like,
they're like, girl, what is the language that you're speaking? Right. It's like, oh, you know that? Okay, cool.
Yeah, you have to put some down below so we'll see if we know any of those.
Oh, that'll be fun. Yeah, y'all put some stuff down below. If you're from the South, say some stuff and let's see if we can understand.
We know it. Yeah, or we can define it because
we'll visit that next episode.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's a different language. But
all right, girl. Tithes and offerings.
Okay, we should start us off. I think.
So I'm just, girl. I had to center my spirit for this topic for today, so I didn't really have anything major to extend. I guess the only thing that just was sitting on my spirit, I was speaking with my therapist, about all the things, and she asked me this very simple question, in which I want to invite you guys to answer for yourselves, you to answer for yourself. Who's transmitting the message of your worthiness? I think it's pretty fitting for the conversation of today. like I say, it's so easy to get wrapped up in societal norms and what they deem is beautiful, to the point where you erase yourself. I guess definitely for me being a Black, dark-skinned person, you have to draw within. You have to understand, like, yes, I'm worth more than what these people are putting on me. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I want to extend. Who's transmitting the message of your worthiness? Wow. Is it you? Is it society? Is it social media? Is it other people? And if it is anything outside of you, I want to encourage you to go a little bit more inside. Yeah. Pull from the inside, because happiness comes from within. Yeah. No one can really truly make you happy until you make yourself happy. So yeah. And that's encouragement.
All you got at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Is you.
All you have is you. Yeah. If you decide you want to give up, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's deep. That's really good, India.
Yeah, girl, I'm in the spirit, honey. Y'all. Yeah. We need to fill each other up after that conversation, because it's real. It's very real. So
I don't think that I have anything super specific. I think I'm still on this like be bold type of train. Like I think it's really simple, but I feel like in this conversation, I think there's a lot of boldness and a lot of to even talk about this topic or to discuss like bringing this up.
Yeah, we were so scared to even talk,
because I'm like, well, let me have one more week so I can really research and like think on what I want to say and go internally and really think about truly about like my opinions and what has shaped how I view this and what I think about all of this and how it's viewed through the world. And it's so much multifaceted that I didn't want to rush into it. But I think doing this, especially as one of our earliest episodes, is really big, because it's like address it off the bat. Like this isn't playing no games. Like we're really talking about the industry of performing, and it's all fun and games, but it's also like us being Black women, I think is one of the main caveats of our points of the podcast. And so to dismiss that, especially with us having
we're not doing opposites. Either one of us or any other person a service by doing that.
Right.
It is the reality of this industry.
Yeah.
And our part in it. So,
so I'm glad that we're bold and stepped out, and that we're continuing to have the conversations, open up the conversations. And even like I had said earlier, just like the boldness, like I did not ever see myself like starting a group or anything. So like that is really like the highlight of my life. Like right now I'm just really
Tell
excited.
me a little bit about it. Like, did y'all have like a discussion or like something? Like how was it?
It was really good. Like we met at a coffee shop, and it was 5 girls originally. Now I think it's like maybe 6 or so.
Come on, you better be building.
I know. I'm like, oh my gosh. So everybody, I was basing it off of that book, that devotional book that I have. Yeah. But I didn't think everybody had gotten it yet. So the first meeting was more like introductions, and a lot of people, like 2 would be in a show together, and like I'm in the show with 2 other the girls. So it's like then we all kind of come together. I wanted to introduce and start just like talking about. Because like some of these people I know from high school, but I haven't caught up with since high school. So it's like
that's a great way to socialize.
And like we weren't even close then. So I'm like, well, tell me like what's going on, because I also didn't know if I wanted to stick with that book or not, because I didn't know what like the group's needs were gonna be. So if it was something like deeper or we needed to go lighter, like then I would like shift and be like, okay, let's do this study instead. But the first one was mostly like intro. And it was exactly what I had hoped for. Like not everybody could come, but the people who did can't come were just like super open, and we just like dove in, like, and it's just really nice to step out. And I really just thank God, because stepping out on faith. So I know that like born leader, and I know like when God calls you to do something, he'll always honor obedience, but it's just still surprising. Like he just amazes you in so many ways, and to have good response from, because I have a passion for friends and stuff, and I will be the first one. Like my friends are always like, she's a woman of faith. Like she's I'm always gonna bring the Lord into it pretty much.
That's okay.
And so I don't know. I think sometimes like, my generation, like younger people don't always want to hear that first off, because we're like experiencing life and stuff. But to have such a good response and people being like, you don't know how bad I wanted something like this. Like, you don't know how bad I like needed this, not just community, but like centered around God. Cause that's my main thing. Like I'm trying to bring that and open that relationship so that we have some firm foundation, you know?
Yeah.
And to have people not just excited to hang out and like talk and key with the girls, but like excited to talk about the Lord and like
and
really
it doesn't have to be uptight.
Right. And not in a way that's like we're meeting at like church and so you feel like you got to dress a certain way. Like I went to the gym after, so I came in some leggings and like sneakers and like we're just sitting.
Come as you are, child.
I had a croissant and then I'm gonna go over, like we just talked and I'm just talking about so many things, and I really feel really grateful for that. And so that was also a step of boldness that I'm moving into, because things are shifting in my life a little bit. You know, like my relationship is going long distance. And
Come on, Reverend Sidney Wilson. Jesus. Listen, coming to a church near you.
I know. I'm like, let me just.
No, that is really wonderful.
You have to have community and people to really support you and stuff. And
and center it back to the Lord.
Yeah.
Because I do think we are drifting just a bit. And we seem to think that we got it.
Yeah.
Or, you know, we're just alone and it's just us, but you're never alone.
Yeah.
Even if there's not another person sitting next to you. So yeah, I love that. Like get us back central to the purpose.
Yeah. So I'm excited. I'm just excited to share too. Oh, sorry. I'm talking so
much. I love that you are like beaming about the Lord, child. It's so like, great. It's wonderful.
Something about like having people that share that and just are excited, just as excited about it as you.
Yeah.
Because I've had friendships and things have kind of ebbed and flowed, but this is different. Like I just feel that there's going to be a mighty move in
Come
it.
Come on.
I'm glad to be bringing people, because I just know the way that I've grown, and people even have been like, you know, I was just wondering, like, you know, you seem like you've gotten stronger in your faith, like since, you know, you moved. And I'm like, because that was the only thing holding me up. Like, that was all I had.
Days.
Yeah,
amen.
I was hanging by a thread. So that was really the only
and
thing.
That too. People actually forget the struggle. Like when you were down and out, we lean into the Lord when we're down and out,
right?
And you know, need some uplift.
Right.
But as soon as you make it, or you know, you get to a place where you want to be, we quickly forget who got us there. Yep. So boy. Like, kudos to you. Keep him central. Yeah.
So that's the most exciting thing for me right now.
Come on. So you having another one next week, or how was this bi-weekly or?
Yeah, we're gonna do bi-weekly. So I'm giving people like, you know, some time to get to book in and stuff, and then I think we're gonna do. It's based on weeks. So what I'm gonna do, because I've pretty much done almost the entire book now, is I'll just go back and revisit, pray on it, be like, you know, anything else that, you know, you want me to share or show, because I'll have like more of an understanding as the leader of it.
Gotcha.
And then
let me find out you're about to build something.
I know,
amazing. Because I'm even thinking, like we talked about it in a earlier episode, how it's a conflict with our schedule trying to get to church.
Yeah.
So if you create this space where people can kind of just, you know, get anointed or fellowship or just grow closer to the word, like that'll be a game changer for this industry, because you know, like some people do cut out some time for it, but the reality is it's just not easily accessible as you know, normal schedules will allow. So
I'm planning on bi-weekly.
You are on to something.
And then so we'll do the study by the like 1 week. You'll have 2 weeks to do 1 week of the study, basically.
Okay.
So because I know everybody even can't like or doesn't do devotional every single day or doesn't, you know, so if you carve out that time, great. And then, you know, that just spurs more. So even if you finish it quick, then you can look stuff up or keep studying, and then we come together. So that's to start. I think moving forward, I probably would want to do once a week if we can keep it up. But so
that's amazing. I'm so proud of you. Keep it going, sister.
Thank you,
Sister Wilson. I guess that's it. Yeah.
This is a great episode.
This is a great one. It was great. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being open. We got very vulnerable and real. If there's anything you want to share, a story, or maybe, you know, some perspective that we didn't cover, write it down below, or, you know, email us, you know, however you want to reach out. Definitely subscribe if you haven't already. Keep up with us on YouTube, on any platform where you can hear our podcast, to get a ding every time we have a new episode, so you can keep up with us and we can keep up with you. We thank you.
Yeah, that's it. This has been Social Cues. I'm Sydney.
I'm India. We'll see you next time.
Bye. Social Cues is hosted by India Brown and Sydney Wilson. Produced by Dale Brown and music by Isaiah Young.
Find us on social media at Social Cues 2023 on Instagram and Social Cues 2023 on TikTok.
Don't forget to subscribe to our page and follow us for notifications of new episodes.
Until next time.